Good morning, everybody. It's your boy D Max. So let's talk about it. I did find something worthy to talk about in my eyes and in my mind because this is a picture that was painted to me through my research and just following what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. So this is something that stands out to me that I want to point out to everybody to just give you an idea of how much freedom and liberty we actually have in the United States as far as it goes with free speech and so on. And we make a whole big deal about, oh well, they're canceling so and so, or they're limiting my freedom of speech. They're prohibiting me from man, you are nowhere near being persecuted compared to Russia. Now, there's a story out right now. We saw the newscaster who decided to protest, and she made a sign saying no war in English and in Russian. And she stood up behind another newscaster and, she held up that sign. Now this woman has went missing. And we also heard, I don't know if y'all heard, and this may be new to y'all, but I heard the other day through my reading and stuff that uh what is it called? It's the something group. It's a group that these are special forces guys that Putin has hired to go into the Ukraine and do those special op movements, the ones that nobody's seeing and the ones that nobody's hearing about. And there's a mayor who's been kidnapped and a whole lot more going on. So we want to, what's going on? What's happening, brother? Good to see you. Um, you said USA helped cancel Putin. They trying to, man, but Putin just can't be canceled like that. Or whenever you have a mindset like that, he don't care about being canceled. They putting all of these sanctions and stuff on him, and now he's appealing to China to get more backing from China. And if anybody been paying close attention, China and Russia has really been doing a lot of business with each other over the past few years, especially during the whole Trump administration. And I'm not saying anything about Trump. This is about just during the time of his administration. There was a whole lot of business between China and Russia. And so China and Russia are on such terms to where they were about to go on this venture where they were going to create their own digital currency. I was talking about that in my last video. And so China and Russia, they have a whole plan in mind. And, right now, Russia is making this move to try to establish themselves further in the plan that they have with this other country. You say, no, the USA is not to the extreme of a dictator like Russia, but America knows how to suppress and quell any efforts of resistance. I'm gonna have to disagree with you right there, man. America loves to dictate to dictators how to dictate their countries. America is one of the biggest dictators. We just do it on a global scale. We don't just dictate to our people, we dictate to the world what they're going to do. And that's a proven fact. We've always been called the world police because we always on everybody's scene and up in their business. So man, I gotta disagree with you on that one, man. The world is this country has a dictatorship, but they just won't call it a dictatorship. They'll claim that we have this two-party system, but the ultimate goal of this two-party system is the exact same, and that's total control globally. Not just here in our country. They already got us locked down. They got us wrapped up in consumer stuff. They got us wrapped up in social media. They got us wrapped up in all of these shiny things. So we're running around chasing after a pipe dream while they're doing what they really want to do. And this is what our country does. It gives us all of these things to occupy our time and to get our attention and to distract us from the things that they're really trying to accomplish. And so we will establish that America is a dictatorship is just a covert dictatorship. That's why we have so many shiny things with the bells and whistles to keep us tantalized. That's why they're trying to bring in the central bank and bring their own central currency in so that they can centralize it and utilize it to control the people further. That's what my last video was about that I did this morning. And so coming into this, I'm glad that you came on and brought your point of view so that we can talk about this. Because, yeah, we're not being persecuted as far as the people in Russia are when it comes down to speaking our mind on things. We can speak our minds. Now, I also did a video talking about how the elite and the people who are trying to control these narratives will use certain organizations and say that this organization has an issue, and they'll give them, that organization, the backing to try to suppress what a person is saying. And they'll use these covert methods to try to shut us up and to limit our free speech. But you have countries like Russia. You see where this young lady, she spoke out and she protested the war, and she is missing now. They have mayors, they have public officials that are being kidnapped, walking out of their business or walking out of their homes on a regular basis. This is what dictators do. This is why Donald Trump liked Putin so much. It was because of the amount of control and the level of control that Putin had over the people. And it's solely his control. There's no board. There used to be a board. He got rid of them. There's no more anybody to oppose his position. And anybody that will oppose his position are going to be dealt with the most force that can possibly come at a person. So if you speak out about Vladimir Putin over there in that country, you definitely are going to have somebody knocking at your door, whether it's your business, whether it's your home, whether it's your mama house. If it's within that country and you spoke out against it, best believe they're going to be knocking at your door. Now, the United States, we do the same type of things, but we don't do it out in the open and as direct and upfront as Russia does. Because remember, we're not a dictatorship, right? We're still preaching that democracy thing, right? And so when we go around to all of these other countries and we claim that we're liberating these countries and allowing them to be a democracy, but yet we still have control over their whoever their leader happens to become, that is our form of dictatorship. We're dictating to the dictator how to dictate their people. I wrote this in a poem years back when I was deployed and stuff. But yeah, man, it's the same. They have the same goal. They have the very same goal, but they just have different methods of doing it. You said off topic, am I happy that Jesse Smollett is free? And do you agree with his supporters that his situation wouldn't have happened to a straight black man? I feel like Jesse Smollett being free it was just a part of the game. It was a part of the game that they played. You made us go out and waste all of these resources and all of this money to investigate this case, which was really nothing. And so now we're going to take you through a whole cycle that's going to be inconvenient to you. And, you know, he got out. I'm glad he got out because he could have used that opportunity to say that they did something to him. He could have fabricated a whole nother story, you know, given an opportunity, because like I said, this is more than just about Jesse Smollett, his mental health. This is more than just about him being ostracized or him being picked on because of his activist ties. This is more than that. This comes down to Jesse wanting attention. He know he's backed himself into a corner. He messed up his career in Hollywood because he was trying to be more of a political activist. And now being an activist is all that Jesse has left to stand on or to gain any notoriety off of. So if he let go of this whole activist mindset and this whole activist view or narrative that he's trying to throw out here and putting the race card out there, then we're gonna forget about Jesse Smollett. There's not gonna be any more juicy smoothie jokes, and he's gonna fade off into the background. And that's one of the worst things that can happen to a narcissist, because they always want attention. So Jesse is always going to do what's going to bring some attention to Jesse, because he's losing all of that notoriety that he gained from being on the Empire. And so whatever Jesse can do, he gonna do whatever he got to do to keep his name out there. So I don't really talk about him much anymore, knowing what his end goal is. You say, and do I agree with Taraji P. Henson that Smollett's case can be compared to what happened to Emmett Till? Absolutely not, because what happened to Emmett Till actually occurred. You know what I'm saying? Probably he probably tried to push that type of narrative, but you know, when people speaking on stuff and they really trying to save face, because Jesse Smollett, he represented a whole new mindset on Empire. They were basically placing a highlight on the struggles of gay people across the country and gay people in the music industry, and their relationships, and how it's hard for them to come out and how they have to deal. And he became the face of the gay industry. And so that was a lot for him to carry, and for him to mess it up like that and set them back as far as they did, that would have been it. And look, I'm gonna use the whole Emmett Till comparison. What if Emmett Till didn't get killed? You know what I'm saying? What if what if that whole story was fabricated just to start something between blacks and whites? You know, man, there's so much that can be said about what other people say. I don't really know why Taraji would even make a statement on it. You know, it's something that you just need to leave alone. Jesse lied. We all know that. And you know, he's held accountable for that lie. And that goes into what I want to talk about. So thank you for the segue. Accountability for what you say. We in America, we don't see the level of control that other countries have over their people, for the simple fact that when you look at something from North Korea, or you look at something from Russia or from China, best believe that's went through all of the channels before it was able to be pushed out to the rest of the world, the outside world. They're not going to allow certain narratives and certain things about their country to be passed out to the world. This is one of their things. They keep that level of anonymity because they have that level of control over the people. And so they control the full narrative. So anything that is coming out of them countries have went through all of the necessary channels to get an okay for this to go out and this narrative to be set for the rest of the world about that particular country. And so when we speak and we complain about our government, and we have news media, we have media networks that are set up specifically to bash the other side. You know what I'm saying? And they will go back and forth and bash each other into oblivion, to the point to where they drag all of the people into it, and to where the people are now bashing each other and dragging each other into oblivion, because they identify with a certain group and they don't identify with you as a human being and the human needs that are not being met. They just identify with this group. I like what this group is talking about, and so I'm just going to go with this group. Forget everything that that group says they want, because if they get if they get what they want, then that's going to take away from us. People are really just saying, I'm greedy and I want my way. And if more people are over here with power or speaking to what I want, then that's what I'm going to go with. So we're all just greedy in our individual mindsets, and we try to attribute it to politics, but really it's just us being greedy and us being selfish. when we talk about this two-party system that we have. But ultimately, the ultimate goal, like I said, is to have control over all of us, which they do. And we can argue that back and forth, but that's neither here nor there. And you said, or Beyonce's mother, with respect to Smollett's case, said we should call our Congress people. She said it's a great injustice that was done to black people because of what happened to Jesse. Man, what happened to Jesse was on Jesse. That was his fault. That's what he felt like he needed to do to get some attention, and he got called out for it. Whenever people don't get the consequences that they deserve for their actions, that just creates a bigger monster. So you're not doing Jesse any favors by going along with this lie and saying that he was mistreated and he was done wrong. No, we were all done wrong. We were all misled. The LGBT community was done wrong and they were misrepresented by Jesse, but nobody wants to talk about that. Why does nobody want to talk about how the LGBT community were made to look bad by this person who called themselves a representative of their group? If there was somebody who came out and said they were speaking for the black community and they pulled something like that, what would we do? Would we continue to push for this person? Will we continue to back this person, knowing that they just made us look like fools on the world stage? I don't think I would be able to back anybody like that. And Jussie Smollett, he did that to that community. And I'm sorry that they had to experience that, because it was unnecessary. There's enough brutalization of gay people. There's enough transphobic people out here that you don't have to make up a story. And for him to go to those measures just to prove that that's taking place shows that it was all about Jesse. It wasn't about the movement. It wasn't about the LGBTQ movement. It wasn't about the black movement. It was all about Jussie Smollett. So anybody backing Jussie Smollett, then that's on them. I have nothing to say to them neither way. Just to each its own. That's all I say. But and that's going back to the consequences, man. There's consequences for what you say. And if you go to one of those countries like North Korea, or you go to Russia, or you go over here to China, you're going to feel that full throttle. We do not feel the full effects of that here in the United States. We do not get consequences for the things that comes out of our mouth on social media, in media in general, or just out in public. There's so much that we say that we get away with, and anybody who comes along and opposes your point, oh, they're persecuting me because of my beliefs. Oh, somebody going against what I have to say. How dare they have a point that's not like my viewpoint? This is the mindset that we carry in our country because we are so privileged when it comes to operating in our freedom of speech, that we don't realize how much freedom we actually do have in that, and how much liberty we do have in that compared to other people around the world. And you say, why do you believe so many people think he is innocent? Many famous people call it a miscarriage of justice. Sam Jackson wrote a letter to the judge on his behalf because that hurts Hollywood. That hurts the credibility of Hollywood. Jesse going out and doing what he did, and then you have Tisha Campbell, who just a couple weeks ago pulled a smaller version of a Jesse Smollett, but nobody bought into it. So is this going to be the new fad? The kid who cried wolf? Because when that wolf actually show up and nobody comes to save them, what's going to be the conversation then? Nobody came to help him. Well, he always been crying wolf. And every time we go to see, there's no wolf to be found. And so now that there's really a wolf and they getting devoured by the wolf, oh, well, that's the consequence of their actions. And that's the same thing with Jesse. That's the same thing with anybody who's going to try to protect Jesse, because now They can't get away with the fabricated stories that they've told to bring attention to them because they got a new movie coming out or they got whatever coming out. And we're starting to see this pattern in the music industry and in Hollywood. Whenever it's time for them to have something new come out, like a new movie or something that they want to highlight, then they're going to go and they're going to do something out in public, or they're going to start some kind of controversy to have their name trending. This is all about trending. And the same thing with, and this is off topic too, but I'm going to go into it. Kanye West and all of that stuff. You see how in the music industry, whenever Beyonce was about to come out with Lemonade, they had that whole big thing about Jay-Z infidelity and that whole storyline. And they played the whole entire country like suckers to buy into that storyline, had women against men, men against women, even more than they already are, because of a fabricated story that they told about infidelity to get sales for that Lemonade album. And I don't know, it probably went 5 times diamond or something like that. But they use these situations to garner your attention and your sympathy or whatever, so that you can invest into them. Because the music industry, I mean, not the music industry, but the movie industry is hurting right now with the Netflix deals and all of the way the movie industry is being restructured. A lot of these actors and actresses are hurting right now. They're not making no money. They're not working. And so they have to utilize these systems to keep themselves relevant and to keep themselves employable. And so that's why you have a Samuel Jackson who's going to back Jussie. That's why you have a Taraji that'll say whatever, because they're protecting their interests as well. It's not just about Jussie. It's about that whole, all of the actors, the Actors Guild, the SAG or whatever they call it. They trying to protect that. Jussie hurt that as well. He hurt a whole lot by what he did. And that's why it's being so highlighted, because they're going to make an example out of Jussie Smollett. But at the same time, they have to protect their interests as well, because if they went full throttle, then they would have to release some of this stuff that be going down in Hollywood, and they don't want to do that. So they got to kind of keep it, balanced out. But that's just how it goes. And here in the United States, we're so distracted with stuff like this that we don't see what our country is doing when it comes to cryptocurrency. I was talking about that earlier, and along with this war with Russia and Ukraine. And so there's a difference in freedom of speech. When we say freedom of speech over here, we mean our freedom to threaten people, our freedom to tell lies about people. This is what people want the freedom to do. They want the freedom to be able to lie on other people. They want the freedom to be able to fabricate false narratives about people in order to destroy their momentum or their growth in this social media world. This is what they're talking about. They're not talking about true freedom of speech when you're speaking out against a political movement that is destroying a people, or that is taking our economy and using it to their benefit at the cost of us as the people. These are the things that people are being persecuted and ostracized from, and other countries are talking about. They're not worried about their actors and their actresses. Whenever they go to speak out, they're speaking about something that the people of their country need, because they do not have it, because they are under the rule of a tyrant and a dictator who will not allow them to have the things that's necessary for them to even just live regular. We're complaining about excess stuff. In America, we're always complaining about the extras. We don't have, oh, gas prices are going up, so now my BMW, I'm gonna have to pay $100 to fill up the tank instead of $85. Oh, the horror. We complain about excess. We complain about luxuries. This is our complaint. We complain about privileges. Other countries are complaining about the bare minimum, just to be a human. So some of us should feel this. Some of us should understand this, because right within this country of so much excess, we can't even get a fair shake or an equal share of the pie. So we should understand this. And so when we speak out about the things that are really important to the country and important to the people of the country, but it gets overshadowed by somebody complaining about something of excess or a luxury, that's what pisses the people off right there. Because your complaint is invalid. Your complaint is about something that you are not going to live, you're not going to die, or you're not going to live any better if you have or don't have it. That's the problem. That's where the disconnect is. That's where other countries can't feel any sympathy for us whenever we complain about stuff, because we're complaining about not having our excess. So I pray for the people of Russia. I pray for the people of North Korea. I pray for the people in China. I pray for the people in America, in all of these places that are being ran by these tyrants. I pray for those tyrants, because God gives all positions of authority. He, good, bad, or ugly, he gives all positions of authority. I remember there was a story when Israel was just wanting a king, just like every other nation. They saw all the nations around them and they had a king and they admonished their king and all of this. And Israel wanted a king, just like everybody else. And God said, okay, so y'all not good with me. Y'all want a king over y'all? Okay, I'm going to give you what you want. I'm going to give you a king, and he going to make your sons be in his army, and they're going to be his slaves and build whatever he want. And your daughters are going to be his concubines. Since y'all want a king, I'm going to give you what you want. And he gave them what they want. And you see how Israel's history went from the point of King Saul down through David, Solomon, and all the other kings over Israel. So be glad for what you have. And I'm talking about Americans right now. Be glad for what we have, man. And I've been a big critic. I've been the biggest critic of the United States as anybody, but I can understand and recognize that we do have it better than a lot of other places. And so that's why none of our gripes are really valid to people who come here from other countries and have experienced what real poverty is and who's experienced what real oppression is. We love to talk about slavery as black people, but I'm gonna tell you, we didn't coin the market on slavery. We did not coin the market on slavery. We're not the only people who have been through slavery and suffered slavery. Almost every ethnic group in this world has been through slavery at some point in their existence. And so our slavery is not the only slavery that there's been. We don't have a monopoly on the pain, black people. And I'm sorry that that hurt some people's feelings, but that's just the truth. So let's look at this from a real view, man, and understand when these people in Russia speak out and they say no more war, you're not going to see a whole bunch of people out in the streets protesting like you'll see here in the United States. You're not going to see a Kyle Rittenhouse type of situation going down there, because anybody out in the streets trying to protest or speak against Putin will be shot down by their military, period. Now, over here, we have laws and we have constitutional laws against stuff like that. They don't. So if he sends out his military or his militia groups to take somebody out or to shut somebody up, then that's just what it is. There's nobody to go against that other than the United Nations or NATO. And that's if the story gets to them and if they believe the story is credible or not. And so really take a mental take a mental inventory of all of the privileges that we do have here in the United States for other countries, and then you'll see why it's so important for us to be in these battles and to know what's going on in these other countries with these wars, because eventually it's going to come back and shine a light on us. It's going to shine a light on our weaknesses. It's going to shine a light on our strengths as a country, and it's going to give us perspective. This is what I'm gaining from watching this war take place between Russia and Ukraine. I don't know what anybody else is getting out of it. But yeah, I just wanted to come on and talk about that a little bit, man, and get people to understand when you see these people speaking out in Russia or from other locations where they can't disclose because they would definitely be killed. Keep an eye out when that person speak out, because they might just turn up missing like these other people are coming up missing, and nobody has any answers for this. So when the dust settles and this whole war is over with, who's going to be held accountable? Is it going to be solely on Putin? Are the members of their military going to be held accountable for these war crimes? Who's going to be held accountable? Because like they said, the United States, we went over into Iraq and other countries and we've done some devastation over there. Who was held accountable? Well, they came out and they tried to hold our presidents accountable for war crimes, but I've seen no action being taken against the United States yet. We're not feeling any of the effects of that yet. So just something to put out there, man. Y'all keep up with this Russia and Ukraine thing, man, and just keep on peeping out all of these little points and all of these little questions and answers that are being brought up, not only about those countries, but about our own country. This is your boy D-Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.